Is the Hyundai Santa Cruz really a truck? Let's look at the specs. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Rob Motive MT. So the big question, is the Hyundai Santa Cruz really a truck? Well, I'm standing here in the garage right in front of the Toyota Tacoma, which I think everybody can accept is a truck. So I thought it would be interesting to pull the specs on the Tacoma. This is a 2021 SR5 two-wheel drive, and compare them to the 2022 Hyundai Santa Cruz, which is an SEL Premium, just to try to figure out if the Santa Cruz really is a truck. Now, before we get into it, if you're new or you haven't, go ahead and click that subscribe button and smash that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. So let's get into it. First of all, we're going to talk about the weight. Why? Well, because I think a truck needs to be a certain weight. I think it needs to be beefy enough. It can't be too light. So, and these are curb weights, by the way. The Hyundai Santa Cruz is 4,101 pounds. The Toyota Tacoma is 4,205 pounds. Of course, not including some of the things I've added, like the sport bar and the wheels and the tires and all that stuff. 4,205 pounds. So we're not talking about a huge difference. I would put them basically in the same class as far as weight goes. They're pretty much equal. Next up, let's get into the meat of it. What can they do? Well, first of all, let's talk about towing. The Hyundai Santa Cruz is rated to tow, and this is with the 4-cylinder 2.5 liter turbo engine. It's less for the naturally aspirated. It's rated at 5,000 pounds. Not too bad. However, the Toyota Tacoma, again, I think we can all agree is a truck, is rated at 6,700 pounds. So 1,700 pounds more on the Toyota Tacoma. Now, I don't know that I would hook up 6,700 pounds to the Tacoma. I'm not even sure I'd hook up 5,000 pounds to the Santa Cruz. But nonetheless, that's what they're rated at. So the Santa Cruz does fall a bit short, 1,700 pounds short, as compared to the SR5 Toyota Tacoma. Next up, let's look at payload. And I think this is probably what more of us actually use the truck for than towing. Payload on the Santa Cruz is 1,631 pounds. Not too bad. On the Tacoma, it's 1,395 pounds, quite a bit less. Now, there is a little caveat here. If you look into the Santa Cruz, it's only rated to tow, or haul rather, 600 and I believe it's 51 pounds, 11 pounds, something like that in the bed. The rest of the weight, the rest of the payload would be the passengers or anything stuck inside the cab. So keep in mind, really hauling anything around in the bed of the Santa Cruz, 651 or so, 611 pounds, right around that mark. Whereas with the Toyota Tacoma, you can put the full 1,395 pounds minus the weight of everything else you have on the truck, the people inside, and this is true on the Santa Cruz as well, but the people inside, the sport bar, everything else you put on the truck that has weight to it. Next up, the drivetrain. The Santa Cruz is an all-wheel drive system. Most of the time it's front-wheel drive. It only kicks into the other wheels, if you will, if necessary. The Tacoma, of course, you can get in two configurations, two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. Mine happens to be two-wheel drive. I think this is kind of a moot point because you can get it either way in the Tacoma, and I don't think it's really necessary for four-wheel drive unless you're big-time off-road, which we'll talk about between the two in the end. Next up, the engines. The Santa Cruz, my trim level, which is the SEL Premium, has a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder turbo, which is awesome in that truck. You can also get it in a 4-cylinder naturally aspirated. I wouldn't recommend it. I'd shell out the extra dough for the turbocharged version. In the Tacoma, we've got a 3.5 liter V6 naturally aspirated. Bigger engine, but definitely not as powerful as we'll get to here in the next couple of points. The first being horsepower. The Santa Cruz has 277 horsepower, again in the 4-cylinder 2.5 turbocharged version. This truck with its V6 3.5 is 278 horsepower. So you get 1 horse more in this truck. As far as torque goes, in the Santa Cruz, we've got 311 pound-feet of torque, and in the Toyota Tacoma, we've got 265. And let me tell you, you can definitely feel the difference. The Santa Cruz just feels more powerful to me. It's more responsive, it's quicker, it just feels like it has more oomph, even with that smaller 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. Now, the last thing that I wanted to talk about is off-road capability. Now, this truck is the 2-wheel drive, as I mentioned. You can get the Tacoma in 4-wheel, and I would say the Tacoma wins hands down there. The Santa Cruz really isn't designed for off-roading. You know, the departure is slim, it's lower to the ground. It's just not really set up that way. It does have the all-wheel drive system, will perform well in inclement weather, ice, snow, even rain, I think. But the Toyota Tacoma wins hands down there. It's definitely an off-road beast. So, given the specs, is the Santa Cruz a truck? Or is it merely an SUV with a bed, like a lot of people have claimed that it is? Actually, Hyundai calls it a sport activity vehicle. And I think that's probably a good name for it because that's really what it is. It's an SUV. Although, throwing that term out, I would call the Santa Cruz a mini truck. It has all of the attributes of a truck, minus the off-road part, depending on your trim level. But otherwise, it's definitely a mini truck in my opinion. It has a bed, it can tow a decent amount of weight, it can certainly haul a decent amount of weight, and it looks like a truck, albeit different, probably really more resembles an El Camino, which is okay with me, I always like them. But nonetheless, and I believe the El Camino was termed as a truck as well, now that I think about it. And if it was a truck, then the Santa Cruz is certainly a truck. So yes, I do believe it is, although I wouldn't call it a truck, I'd call it a mini truck. Leave a comment, let me know what you think, particularly if you have one or you've driven one. Is it a truck? Or would you call it a mini truck? I'd be curious to know. Again, if you didn't in the beginning, make sure you smash that subscribe button and click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. I do have 2 additional channels. Rob Motive, all about the Toyota Tacoma, and Rob Motive JT, all about primarily the Jeep Gladiator with a little bit of Jeep Wrangler thrown in. Check them out, and if you're interested, why not subscribe? Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.